Hey everybody, it's Monday night. It's Always Bookin Comedy. We got David from Florida. How you doing, David?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Good. We've never met. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's going on?
Yeah, my name's David, and I run a comedy branding agency. My whole goal is to do brand ups for stand ups so that they can get seen, booked, and paid what they're worth.
That rhymes. I love a good rhyme. I've never heard brand up. What does brand up mean?
Yeah, think of it like what the kids say, like a glow up, right? We're trying to
Okay.
improve your
Okay.
brand so that it levels up to the next level.
Okay. You don't want your branding to be sus, do you?
No cap.
I have no idea what that means. I'm too old. Okay, so brand up. Give me an example. Who's the best branded comedian out there?
The best the best branded comedian out there right now. Oh gosh. Well, you know what? I'll speak to one of my clients, Azar Usman. He just finished a 49 city tour. He used to open for Dave Chappelle for a decade and has had a lot of success since then from a writing standpoint, a producing and acting standpoint. And so when we connected a couple of months ago, it was out of a desire to get back on the road. And so we were able to put together his website, az.tv, and use that as a jumping off point for his comedy film. So lots of great stuff with
That's a
Azar.
good domain name. Was it available or did you have to pay extra for it?
He had secured it a couple
Okay,
months ago, so it's something
cool.
that he was really going after, and he kind of doubled down on it.
Hmm, nice. Uh, so do you like make the website or do you go farm that off to like some kind of agency?
Yeah, the beauty of the process that we have is it's a design intensive. So we build everything in a 1 to 3 day intensive with the client, basically. So we're building in real time, getting real time feedback, and by the end of those 3 days, all their brand assets are completed. Essentially, their visual messaging, their website, their social media assets, email marketing, and then even helping them put out offers that help them monetize beyond the microphone.
Nice. I'm looking at the website right now. It's very cool. It's very impressive. Looks it does say copyright 2025, heads up. It is now 2026. I just had to fix that on all my websites the other day. And I found one that was 2024. Whoops.
Oh.
I missed a whole year. Oh, we got somebody tuning in. This is a weekly conversation about comedy and comedy related business. Hit fits. So yeah, and you can type in questions into the chat and we will answer them. This is live right now. We got David in Florida. I'm in Colorado, freshly back from negative 20-degree Minnesota. Did a weekend. One day it was the feels like was negative 49 degrees in Duluth,
Whoa.
Minnesota. It was rough.
Whoa.
And honestly, like I couldn't tell the difference between that and like 20 degrees. They're both cold.
Yeah.
And you don't hang out. It's not like you fall in a snowbank on purpose. You wear a coat, you get out of your car, you go into a business. You're not out in the cold that long. But what part of Florida are you in?
I'm in the Central Florida area, so near Orlando. I'm in a little park called Claremont.
Okay, cool.
We know
Neat.
for like all the citrus, and now it's a lot of houses, a lot of development. It's a great part of the state.
Okay, neat. Are you a comedian yourself?
I don't perform as much anymore, but over the years I've done stand up, I've done improv, done a lot of silly content online. So I combined my passions of comedy and branding and marketing into one place so that I can support
Is
the
the stand-up brand up stuff, is this a day job for you or do you have a day job in marketing? And then this is like
this is the job. This is the job. Yeah, I get to work with clients year round and help them get their brands up.
nice. Do you get into like tour routing and stuff like that, or are you strictly online marketing collateral stuff?
Strictly online collateral. Yeah, I want to help them get positioned as clearly as possible and really lean into what is like their unmistakable edge. And so that's my role, is to really help kind of clarify that, draw that out, and then make sure that we have the messaging and the positioning to help bookers and fans understand, why this comedian is special and why you should follow.
Yeah. Is part of that, does that drive what the comedian says on stage? Like, do you coach them to make sure that fans, like new fans, people go to comedy shows who don't know the comedians on the show. Do you coach comedians to like lean into that brand when they're on stage?
So, mostly what I'm doing is I'm not trying to shape a persona on stage. I'm really trying to put a spotlight on the persona that already exists, right? So,
Okay.
if they have a particular style, if they have a particular kind of ideal target audience, then I want to help make sure that's crystal clear so that they can attract the right types of gigs, the right types of bookers, the right types of fans to engage with them, and ultimately create the right types of offers. So, the real opportunity for comedians is not just, getting paid better for performing, but really, monetizing beyond the microphone, like being able to draw your audience into your mailing list, your ecosystem, and turn them into like super fans that support you on many levels.
Yeah. How frequently do your clients go back to similar markets, like the same market? Is there any rhyme or reason to that?
That's a great question. Sometimes the communities I work with they prefer to work in a specific region. Like I think you like to work in, kind of the Colorado area, right? Like you've been.
Yeah, I get out around the country. I don't leave America much. I went to
Yeah.
Canada once ever.
Yeah,
Um,
some comedians, like I worked with one client who primarily does cruises and wants to
okay.
stay booked year round on cruises, and also wants to get gigs in between those cruising gigs. Um,
Yep.
and some of them want to stay regional. Some of them really are ready to go to the next level and go, national or international. So it really depends at like what phase of their career they're in and what they want to accomplish.
Nice. That's very interesting. Tell me about who without naming names, who had the worst, like talk to me about somebody who had a bad online marketing and how they improved it with your help.
Well, I think this client won't mind me saying it. One of my big clients is Bob Smiley, which I love his name because it's like made for comedy.
Yeah.
Uh, Bob Smiley is a like comedy veteran. He's been doing it for like 27 plus years, primarily in churches. So, he's
Okay.
really in the faith-based world. And when we met, he had a really kind of cool looking site. I'll call it cool because they had a lot of fancy graphics. But
Okay.
the thing that was wrong with the website, it was one, it was not mobile friendly. So
Okay.
you had to kind of pinch and zoom on your phone to kind of see anything. The navigation was like in the middle of the page, so people didn't even know it was there. It was kind of blended in with all kind of cool graphics. And then the photos of Bob were like 20 years old, so he looked like a young man. And then when he would go on stage, like it would just be like, "Who's this guy?" Right? And so part of the whole process was making sure that we use up to date photography, that we really call out his experience, that we come up with a signature, color scheme and visual style that really speaks to his energy, because he's kind of high energy comedian. He has like a lot of laughs per minute, a lot of like punchlines per minute, and so
Mhm.
we really wanted to translate that through the right visuals and the right messaging, and put up front, who he's ideal for. And so, he's a clean comedian, so he can serve a lot of audiences. And so we wanted to make that as clear as possible, and also signal to the types of venues and the organizations that he has experience working with, you know big churches and faith-based organizations and even comedy festivals alike. So yeah, Bob is one of my great case studies.
Nice. So I'm curious about this. So you said that you don't get involved in like the booking. So these comedians have teams. Do you talk to the other people who like are you getting on conference calls like Ari and Entourage with like the manager and whatever other roles there are for these comedians, travel agent, etc.?
Not really. I don't really need to connect with any of their kind of other representation, unless that's a big part of their process. Some of them just prefer to work without any kind of manager or agent and want to self
Okay.
book. And so part of the way that I build sites for my clients is to have a very thorough booking form that helps them capture the right information for a booking request, right? So we capture stuff like, what's the name of the event, what would make it a success, what's the nearest airport, stuff like that. So that
Yeah, that's not obvious. That's cool.
yeah, so that when that inquiry comes in, as a comedian, you're better equipped to already know what's going to take into account, and then it gives you a little bit of bargaining, power to be able to take that phone call and have a customized offer ready to go.
Right. Huh. That's cool. Can you pull up markmasters.co and give some quick pointers?
Sure.
Or what's the word I'm looking for? Critiques. Some critiques is what we're looking for. Already, I've seen 2 of these websites. I know I'm not up to speed. It's CO like Colorado.
Yeah, yeah.
Not, yeah.
Do you mind if I share my screen? Can I do that?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. Fun.
Let's
I don't
see if
know. Let's see if you can do
share
that.
Okay, got it. I found it. Share screen, entire screen. All right, here we go. System audio here. All right.
Here, I gotta add it. Here we go. There we go.
All right, cool. Well, immediately something that comes to mind is that you're brand consistent in that, like, the same blue that we have on your website is the same blue branding that I'm seeing on our
podcast.
Right. So there's some intentionality. It's hard to miss who this is about, right? Mark Masters, Colorado's second cleanest comedian, which is hilarious, and a clear picture of you. It's a little fuzzy, but it's clear nonetheless. And I'm going to keep scrolling.
Okay.
This is actually part of the way that I serve some of my clients who maybe are not ready to work one-on-one with me is I'll actually do a comedy brand assessment like this. I'll record live kind of my reactions to it. So the one thing I'm seeing up here is there's a lot of things for me to click. There's not one kind of main call to action, which I think is important, right? I think that the job of a website for a comedian is ultimately to get booked. And so we want to speak to the booker. And so if I were, tweaking this, I would call out the main button, which I would imagine is contact.
Yeah.
If I were to get even clearer than contact, I would say bookmark,
right.
Me.
Okay. I built this website long before I was bookable.
Love it. Yes. And I see that you're leveraging a tool, Bands in Town, to populate your upcoming shows. This is that I use that for my clients. I think it's a great way to syndicate your upcoming shows. And really, this is speaking to fans and bookers that you're in demand, right? That you have book shows. You're not an amateur. You're not, new at this. And so I do like that you are kind of calling out that you're booked 6 to 12 months in the future. So that's signaling like, hey, I'm in demand. So if you want to, secure me, like, now is the time to do it. So I think that's very clever. I do like that. And then now here starts where it's a little bit like a lot of stuff to read. And so just, attention spans are shorter and shorter now. So, people are not necessarily inclined to read a wall of text. I'm guessing some of this has some SEO value, some search engine optimization value, because you're using some of the words and, but like these seem like important links, but they're kind of buried in here, right? So stuff like that. Now press and marketing. Yeah. So now we're getting to kind of credits, and I think credits have their place, but I don't think it hurts to have some. I like to curate them as much as possible for my clients so that, we signal kind of the big outliers, the big known venues or organizations that, by showing like 6 really key ones, you're already signaling that, you have experience, and we don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of like, I did a state fair in 2022, or 2019, stuff like that. So, going down here to the newsletter, people are not excited about joining newsletters, right? We have enough emails in our inbox. And so a big thing I like to do for my clients is to help set up what's in the industry is known as a lead magnet. Like, what is something of high value that you can give your visitor in exchange for their email address. And we want to make it as simple as possible. So in many cases, for my clients, we'll do something like, when is Mark coming to your town? Join the list to find out.
Okay.
Or want a special 2-minute video clip, unseen anywhere else, join the list to see that. Right.
Yeah.
So we'll even simplify it as short as just an email, or just an email and a zip code, so that we make it as simple as possible. And let's see, scrolling down a little bit more, shows.
It gets more and more embarrassing as you get.
Oh, so now we're looking at the history of your websites, I guess. At least that's what it feels like here. Yeah. So, at this point, like, I think a website should be very focused. So I do like that you've put a lot of really good stuff on your homepage. I don't think we need to kind of spread out content in like 7 different pages, because the more pages you have, the more distracted people get. And then they're like, oh yeah, I got to go, use the bathroom, and then they'll never come back. Right. So you have to assume that people visiting your site will never visit your site ever again. And so how do we make it as simple as possible for bookers to take action and fans to take action? So that's kind of the way I think about it.
That's the takeaway I'm taking. I'm going to take this off the screen. The call to action to booking. But, I made that website a long time ago, and I've kind of cobbled changes and additions to it over time. But it's been more recently that people have been reaching out to book me and fly me places. And that's great. That's a good call to action for me, David. Very meta. I love it. What kind of trends are you seeing in, like, you've been doing this a long time. You're very polished and well-spoken about all of this. What's been new in the last year or two that's important for comedians in branding up?
Yeah, great question. So I teach. I have a free course called the Comedy Brand Blueprint, where I talk about the 5 foundations that I think every comedian should have as part of their comedy brand, and they kind of stack in order, right? And so the visual is essentially like a pyramid. So I like to say it's a pyramid scheme for comedians. But at the bottom is your visual messaging. Like, what's the words and the visuals that we can use to quickly define you, so that people have some real estate in their brain for you, right? So when you think of somebody like Fluffy, right? Like, I don't even have to know the comedian's full name. I just know Fluffy is Fluffy, right? And so when you think of Fluffy, what comes to mind for you, Mark?
Hispanic, has kids, does huge arenas, funny.
Yeah. There's like there's a silliness to him. There's Hawaiian shirts. Like, all of his artwork has him with a giant head. He's plump, and so, like,
I was afraid to say that. That was top of mind, but I didn't want to offend Fluffy.
He's leaning into it, right? The fact that he's kept that word Fluffy is like, this is me, right? Yeah. And so another good example is like Carrot Top, right?
Sure.
Like, Carrot Top, there's a color that comes to mind with Carrot Top, right? There's a visual. So my hope for comedians is to be able to secure the visuals and the words to find them. On the second level, I'd say is having your website. Once you have your visuals and your messaging, you need a home base for it. And really, your website serves as the home base for your brand, right? That's how people find you.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that,
is that true? Is that true? Because I would think, I'm old and unsophisticated, but I would think that a lot of newer fans aren't even looking at websites. They might be discovering people on social media or who knows where.
Yeah, you actually you beat me to it, because the next level is social media. Once you have a home base, then social media is really the platform to get discovered on, right? Okay. If you're posting your clips, and ultimately you're driving people to your website, that's going to best position you to get booked and to get tickets sold. The mistake a lot of comedians make is they avoid the visual messaging, they skip the website, and they maybe do like a link tree with like 27 buttons. Yeah. And so when people see that, they don't know what to click. They feel like they're at the Cheesecake Factory looking at the menu, and they get overwhelmed, and then they don't do anything, right? So that's the mistake a lot of comedians make. They put a lot of energy into posting content, but they really know none of the foundations to help them, secure bookings or a growing fan base. And so I'd say what you build on top of social media is your email list, right? Because once you're getting discovered and you're driving people to your website, then that's really the opportunity to move people out of these social platforms where you can bet that Mark Zuckerberg wants people to just stay on Instagram and Facebook, right? He doesn't want them to leave. He wants them to like and scroll and scroll and scroll. And so you're not just competing with other comedians, you're competing with everything. And so the real big opportunity for comedians is to grow that mailing list so that you can hit the final phase, the final foundation, which is putting out monetized offers, right? So the top of the pyramid, so to speak, is really where the real benefits of having a comedy brand is, because you can grow a membership, right? People want access to their favorite entertainers, so you can put out like a Patreon where people will support you even for like $5 a month because they want special access. Maybe you have a podcast and there's a great reason to have a membership, or maybe you're self-producing specials and you can give people in your mailing list early access and they can buy early access to watch it, right? So there's just so many opportunities for comedians to turn their comedy brand into, growing revenue beyond just getting on the microphone and trying to really fight to get higher paying gigs.
Right. That's awesome. That's great. So tell us again, how do people track down the free seminar or course, whatever you call it?
Yeah. So you can just go to comedybranding.com and there's a link in there called the blueprint. So comedybranding.com/blueprint. And it's a free course, free training. Anybody can benefit from it.
Very cool. Do you work with clubs or venues at all?
That's something I'm working on this year. Up until now, I've worked exclusively with like the talent, with comedians, but I'm starting to develop some more relationships on the club side and the venue side. So that's something I'm trying to elevate more this year.
Huh. How about like ticketing stuff? Do you ever get involved with that? With it, like, are the comics you're working with, are they always going to places that are managing the ticketing, or are they sometimes just, finding a VFW hall and selling their own tickets?
Yeah, there's so many platforms now to help sell tickets. One of my clients has a ticketing service for comedians called Massive Tix, TIX, and it's exclusively built for comedy venues and comedians, and it makes it really simple for them to sell tickets and get the revenue from those bookings, right? As opposed to like a mass product like Eventbrite, where you're competing with all kinds of unrelated events. So yeah, that's just one example of a platform that comedians and comedy producers and venues can leverage.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about your business specifically. Like, how do you find clients? What's your pipeline like?
Yeah. So I post content weekly on Instagram and LinkedIn. So a lot of what I do is carousels where I break down what the best comedians in the world are doing. So I really kind of put a spotlight on, what are comedians like Kevin Hart doing in terms of their messaging, their visuals, their topics, their persona. And so I speak to a lot of like, hey, you want to learn from the best? Like, here's the best right in front of you. So I teach a lot of content in that way. And people who want to learn more can download the blueprint, and then from there, that's where they kind of even learn more about like what other offers I have, right? So I'll put on pretty much like monthly workshops, so they can learn a very specific skill. It could be about your website, it could be about social media, it could be about any of the 5 foundations essentially. And primarily I'll talk about getting seen, booked, or paid. So it's kind of like the three main pieces of what helps a comedian grow. And beyond that, I usually have some Facebook ad running to promote that free course. And so people come to learn. And then every now and then, there's some comedians who are like ready, not just to learn, but to get it implemented by a professional. And that's how I can help.
Yeah. We got a question. What are the 5 foundations? You want to rattle them off real quick? If you rewind, he goes into a little more detail.
Yeah. Start at the bottom. Visual messaging is the first foundation. On top of that, you can have it live on your home base, which is your website. Then once you have your website, then you can go confidently on social media and point people to your website. So that's the third one. Then on top of that, you have your mailing list, which is the opportunity to move people away from the social platforms and into your platform. And then finally, it's monetized offers at the top. So
Nice.
that's once you have a mailing list, you can send out all kinds of offers because the people who have opted in are already super fans.
What in the whole globe you get to choose from? What's the best example of monetized content? Like not necessarily one of your clients. Who's just like raking in money or did rake in money?
Well, this is a great example. Louis C.K., right? Louis C.K. went through a bumpy patch, right? Got canceled, but he had grown a huge mailing list, and to the point where he didn't really need to count on the big, producers like, Netflix or Hulu to put out a special. He was able to basically self-produce one, send out a couple of emails, and people purchased access to it. And so he made a couple million just by
Yeah.
sending out an offer to his email list, right? So that's the power. Like once you
Yeah.
have an engaged list, then they're gonna ride or die for you, right? Even if you've made some mistakes. So that's just a great example of like the power of having a comedy brand and having a connection to your fans.
Yeah. That's awesome. Let's get into some fun questions as we wind this down. Do you have a favorite comedian?
I have a soft
Really,
spot.
no, they can't be a client of
No,
yours.
no, no, he's not a client.
Okay.
I have a soft spot for Pablo Francisco.
Okay. Yeah.
I just remember seeing his stuff, years ago and just laughing hysterically. And I'm just always partial to his humor. I do like a Dimitri Martin as well.
Nice.
Just these different types of comedians who have kind of a very specific style. One is very extreme like Pablo, and Dimitri is very kind of, calm and different and clever. So I like
Yeah.
the extremes sometimes.
Nice. Have you seen either of them live?
I've seen Pablo Francisco live. Yeah.
Okay. Where did you see him live?
Ooh, it would have been in Miami at some point. I don't even remember the
Okay.
venue. It was years ago.
Okay. Orlando has a pretty strong comedy scene. Do you go out to independent comedy shows ever to like
I've
scout
only
talent or anything like that?
I've only been here like 2 years. I haven't leveraged enough of the opportunity here. I've been to Tampa a couple times.
Okay.
Tampa was a great
Tampa
venue.
underrated comedy scene. I keep hearing that from people. It's supposed to be really, really good. Brian Regan's brother lives in Tampa.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's growing. They have a venue, Side Splitters, which
Mhm.
is like a really sought after venue for comedians. They do a lot of great stuff for comedians. So, yeah, like Central Florida is starting to get some growing comedy opportunities.
Yeah, especially this last weekend when most of America was shut down by cold.
Yeah,
Not me performing in negative 20 degree
killing them.
Minnesota. Um, yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to share or promote?
No, I mean, I think the main way people can engage with me is comedybranding.com, and on Instagram, my account is comedy branding, right? So I try to be really clear.
Nice.
This is who I'm for, this is who I'm about, and feel free to follow and visit the site and see what you can learn.
Awesome, David. Stick around for a little bit. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next Monday for another episode of Always Bookin Comedy. We'll see you then.